option too. So if your mother left a property to you and your sister doesn't want anything to do with it, but you do, you want to either sell it or rent it out. Sister's like, I don't have time for that. You do whatever. Mom was great. I live in California now. You're in Madagascar. So if you want to manage that property, go right ahead. You could buy out my portion of it. But if the goals are not clear, the process can get super messy. And I want to encourage everyone, have the conversation sooner than later. Sooner than later saves the day on situations like this. So we've talked a few about the fundamentals here, and then also the very important questions to be asking yourself and to be asking those who are in charge. But next is really what usually happens next. Some people have had an heir pass away or a loved one pass away, and they're the heir to the property, and they've had their hands on the property, all the documentation for a year, 2 years. People sometimes hold on to things because of either grief or just timing, the market, all those things. So what typically happens? What is the simple timeline, if you will? Well, step one in a common sequence would be the family gets organized. It's really where it begins. That's where it has to start. The family gets organized. Where are the keys? Who has access? Where is the basic info about the property? Who are the utility companies? You go across the street, across 8 Mile, your utility might be DTE, just the DTE company. In Oakland County, you're likely going to have DTE for your electricity and consumers for your heating fuel, your natural gas. And there are going to be other iterations in between. And so you want to get organized. You want to have keys. You want to know who has access, because mom might have provided a key to a neighbor to come and, water the plants or feed the dog or things like that. And so that neighbor might still have access to the property. They may still have keypad entry access. So you want to make sure you know that. What are the names that the utility is in? Is the utility in mom's name still? Or did mom put the utility in your name already? And then, of course, insurance. We want to make sure that insurance is still being paid. You want to make sure hazard insurance is on that property. It is there to protect you. The next thing is authority. You want to know, okay, we've all got our ducks in a row. We're all rowing in the same direction. We know what we want to do. Who has the authority to do it? This is where an attorney can guide on the legal side. The attorney is going to be able to tell you all of those legal elements are going to keep you and your loved one and the property nice and safe. And the third thing you want to do is understand the property's condition through an assessment, not just evaluation, but an assessment. This might be a pre-inspection where you can get an idea of the condition, what repairs might need to do, what you might want to do in terms of trashing things out. Are there any safety issues? These are all things that you want to consider. Additionally, you're going to want a sale plan. Okay, you want to get a plan, whether it's going to be a retail listing, if it is an as-is, if it's an investor, you've got a cash buyer on hand. Depending on the goals, any of those might be appropriate. If you're thinking about keeping the property as a rental, similar, you want to have a plan. You're going to have some costs that are going to be associated with getting that property up and running for a rental. You're also going to have some factors in there where there won't be any renters in there. The property's ready to go, but you don't have anyone in it. So there's going to be a time where you're not cash flowing. So you want to keep that in mind as far as keeping up with your expected costs. We like to call those outside of P.R.O.B.A.T.E, which is your property taxes, your insurance, and other things that are going to come into play. You're also going to have to think about the holding costs for that property. And then finally, I would say would be the transaction itself. The transaction is coordinated. You want it to be coordinated very clearly. Again, you're out of state. You're depending on people here locally. So with the right communication, probate can actually go pretty smoothly. And it can go smoothly even if you are out of state, if you're an out-of-state heir. So I want to tap into some of the 5 mistakes I see out-of-state heirs making all the time that I want to help you avoid. So let me save you some time, some stress, some energy here, okay? There are some very common mistakes that people make when they live out of state and they have a property they have to handle here for a loved one who's passed away. Mistake number 1 is going to be waiting too long to secure the property. As I said, some folks will have someone pass in their life who they are now in charge of their estate, but they don't do anything for 6 months, 8 months, 10 months, 12 months. There could be a reverse mortgage on the property. And the longer you wait, the more likely you're going to end up losing the property. So don't wait too long to secure. And when I say secure, I also mean locks, security systems, whatever it takes, but you want to make sure that you can see the property from wherever you are in the world. Mistake number 2 is assuming all the heirs have equal decision authority. You're the middle sister. You know what they say about middle sisters, Marsha, right? And your big sister, she's super intelligent, loves you, loves mom, everyone got along, but she wasn't the one selected to be the authority, nor were your little brother and or your step brother that you guys found out about 15 years ago. You are the authority, and that means you get to make the decisions. So while it is good to involve your loved ones, involve your siblings, have those conversations, communicate, but there will come a time where you will have to make a decision, and it could go in a different direction than what your sister or your brother might want. But if you are operating under the guise of what your loved one wanted in the first place, then you can rest easy. It doesn't have to be so stressful. So make sure if you are the decision authority, operate as so. Engage your loved ones, but also understand that at some point you will be required to sign on the dotted line to make a decision. The third mistake I see is over improving the house without a plan. Oh, let's do the windows, let's do the roof, let's do the driveway, let's do the gutters, let's buy a new front door, let's remodel the kitchen, let's do all the bathrooms, let's finish the basement, let's do some landscaping in the backyard, a little gazebo and a little this and a little that. Here you spent $600,000 when the typical valuation in that part of town is $250,000. Don't do that, folks. Don't over improve the house. We call that over editing or over rehabbing. It's not a good idea because you will not recoup those dollars. The fourth thing is kind of obvious, but people overlook it all the time. And I have seen so many people regret the choice they made when hiring an agent. Yeah, a realtor. Now remember, all agents are not realtors, but all realtors are agents. So find you a realtor. We have code of ethics that keep us honest, keep us above board. There's a lot more to it than just selling a house. You want someone who's going to be honest and negotiate with your interests and all of the things. So hiring the wrong agent is one of the mistakes I do see people making a lot. And it can cost you a lot of money, a lot of time, because probate isn't retail. Probate is a public record. So if you think you're going to go ahead and list this house at the top of the tier in terms of pricing, everyone can see that it's in probate. That means they know that something's got to give. And so that is why this is not retail. This is not retail sales here, folks. And I'd say the last one that I see a lot is letting conflict drag out while costs stack up. So again, like I said, there may be disagreement on what to do. But how long are you going to allow that disagreement to cost the family, the estate money that could be used for grandkids, used to make the kids' lives better, things that mom or dad wanted for you all, not to go into the hands of the government or losing the house altogether. So please, folks, keep those 5 mistakes in mind. All right, I gave you a lot of information, kind of came at you fast, but again, save this bookmark this video. That way you can come back to it. But ultimately, if you are an out-of-state heir dealing with a property here in Michigan, a Michigan property, or perhaps you're a probate attorney who wants the real estate side handled cleanly, this is exactly what my team and I specialize in. And so if you don't want to guess your way through this, then you probably want to make sure you have good help. And so if you want, I can share my probate framework with you, my proprietary framework that I use to keep probate real estate organized and low stress. That's the name of the game. Organized, low stress. You're already dealing with a lot. You lost your loved one. That is something you cannot come back from. Let it be low stress and organized process when dealing with the real property in terms of probate. So if any of that sounds good to you, you want to know more, check out the description for the framework, and I'll see you in the next video.